Hi, this is Carl with another SOP video for managed service providers. Today I want to talk about customer service, customer loyalty, and customer expectations. They are all related. First, let me define customer service. I define customer service as any time anybody inside your company touches anybody outside your company. And to be more accurate, anytime anybody or anything inside your company interacts with anybody outside your company. So the widget on your web page itself, your social media, your blog post, your voicemail, your telephone, all of those things count as interactions and customer service. Now there's different kinds of customer service. Essentially, you're in a service business, so it is service when somebody receives an invoice. It's service when somebody receives a quote. It's service when they call you on the phone. It's service when a technician shows up at their desktop. Everything you do, every interaction is service. So when we think about giving service, we often think about the delivery of tech support. And that's clearly service, and it's an important part. And maybe the most common thing that you actually do to deliver service. So when you have a customer service interaction, it's really important that it be done right as often as possible. Now, I don't want to sound negative, but it cannot be perfect. It cannot be right every single time because you're all a bunch of humans and you're using a bunch of tools which grow old and have bugs and are not themselves perfect. So great customer service is awesome, and that's a spectacular goal, but doing it perfect might be just a little bit unreasonable. But having said that, customers should expect things to be as perfect as possible, and when they're not, there needs to be a communication process that lets the customer get things fixed. So what we often call the customer service process, some people bolt that onto the end and say, oh, after things go wrong, that's customer service. No, great customer service is fixing it right the first time, having a great interaction the first time. Every once in a while, some big company that I call will have set as their goal a stated goal to provide an answer to whatever question you have on the first call. Usually that promise lasts about a year and then it gets dropped because it's actually impossible. And once you set that as your goal, it becomes really difficult to do. But there's really good news. If you're watching this, you're probably a small business, which means it is possible for you to solve lots of problems, maybe even all of your problems on the first contact with the client. So customer expectations matter a lot, and you get to help set those expectations. It's really important when you're trying to make this happen that you have a great onboarding process. Part of your onboarding process has to be, here's what you can expect. Here's how to get in touch with us. Either call this phone number and only this phone number and no other phone number, or go to this website and put in a ticket, or send us a text message or an email, or however you provide service. Let the client know what they can and should not do to enter a service request. I've many times told the story of a bad review on Amazon where somebody said, Carl doesn't respond to Twitter. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Carl does not respond on Twitter because Twitter is not one of the ways that you open a ticket or that you get service from my company. So you can waste all the time you want on Twitter, but the way that I give tech support, the way that I give customer service is clearly outlined in my contract and on the website. So if you want to get in touch with me, follow one of the processes that we've both agreed on when you were onboarded. And then I can't be held responsible for you going off to Twitter or LinkedIn or Clubhouse or whatever social media comes up in the next 20 minutes. You know, it used to be it was difficult to count all the social media because they were growing so fast. Now it's difficult to count all the social media that have ceased to be important, interesting, or useful. So I don't say, hey, do anything anywhere on anything and send me a message and I'll respond. I don't recommend that you do that either. There are very specific ways that you should contact me. In my case, if you call on the phone, you're actually going to get a voicemail that says, hey, nobody's checking this and nobody cares and we don't use telephones for support. So send an email. And gives the email so that you can send an email to carlp@smallbizthoughts.com and that will get to me and somebody will help you. But I don't use phones. You might use phones. So that's totally fine. If you use email, tell people you use email. If you only use the web form, tell them that. If you only use the web portal for your ticketing system, tell them that. Whatever it is, set those expectations, but then it's on you to meet those expectations. Now, I talked about, one of the things I said early on is, well, we're also going to look at what this means long term. So you build up something called equity in any relationship, and that's certainly true with clients and with your coworkers, your employees. When I say equity, what I mean is that you get a certain amount of goodwill. And I actually had a conversation with somebody who works with me yesterday about the fact that we have a certain amount of goodwill between us. So it's not a stretch for one of us to ask the other a favor, and it's not a stretch for either one of us to grant a favor because we have a relationship. It's been going on for years. It works, it's successful, and we know what the norm is. We know what the behavior floats to on a day-to-day basis. If you've got a client who has one experience over here and one over there, and one is good and one is bad and one's in the middle, they don't have an expectation of what their experience is going to be. So you need to set very high standards, you need to set high expectations, and then you need to deliver to those expectations, and you need to do it consistently. One of my pet peeves with customer service is people who tell you, go 10x, do amazing things, do outrageous stuff, and give outrageous customer service. Well, that's fine. That's not sustainable if you have more than one client, and it's not sustainable if you have a staff, and it's not sustainable if you count all of the thousands of interactions that you have with your clients. Again, customer service happens when anyone or anything inside your company interacts with anyone outside your company. So if you think about how many times that happens, a visit to your website, your blog, your email, your YouTube channel, your voicemail, calling somebody on the phone, having an actual conversation with a real human in the real world, Zoom meetings, presentations, right? It's thousands of touches per week. And they cannot all be over the top and amazing and spectacular. But they can all be high quality and they can all be consistent. And when they are consistent, then you get a good reputation, a good rapport with your clients, and they expect really good service, and they get really good service because you've defined what that is. You've set a base and you've set it high, and you can deliver to that on a consistent basis. And here's the most important piece. When you fall down, you will be forgiven every time there's a problem if they know that it will float back to the way that it's supposed to be. Be aware, however, that satisfaction is not the same as loyalty. Clients will not complain about a bad experience the first time. They may not complain the second time. They may not complain the third time. And you may make it right time after time after time. But every time you have to go to the well of goodwill, every time you have to use some of your equity, you are notching away at the loyalty that is underneath that. Loyalty takes a very, very long time to build, and it takes a while to lose as well. But just remember, every time you don't deliver service to the level you've promised, you're going to have a negative reaction from your clients, even if they don't say anything. You might take a poll and say, hey, I'm satisfied, I'm satisfied, I'm satisfied. But if the poll were reworded and you asked, are you loyal? You might see that loyalty notches down. And a very satisfied client will end up leaving you because they have lost the loyalty that keeps them engaged and keeps them forgiving you. I mentioned before, nobody's perfect, no customer service is perfect. But if you have a high standard and you deliver to that high standard, you will consistently maintain the loyalty of your clients. And so you will not have to worry about them leaving. Loyalty is hard won, and it's actually a little bit difficult to lose, but you can lose it eventually if you work hard enough at it. Think about all your client interactions. Think about the level of service that you can promise and deliver consistently. Set it as high as you can deliver consistently. Make sure your clients understand that's the level you're shooting for. If you exceed it, that's awesome, but don't try to always exceed it. Remember, customer service costs money, and eventually you need to make sure that you deliver to a level that you can stay very profitable and continue to grow customer loyalty and have that loyalty equity continue to grow within your business. I'm happy to have any of your comments. Please put them down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. And if you have any questions, you let me know. I appreciate all of your comments and all of your feedback. For Small Biz Thoughts, this is Carl Palachuk, wishing you the best of luck in your managed service business.